Who else is sitting at home right now, stuck on the couch, bored out of their minds, just counting down the day until quarantine is over? Just like you, I'm sure just about every one of my classmates is feeling just like me right now, wondering about what the future holds and what will come of this pandemic. Only a few months ago, everything felt like normal, and now life is completely different. I'm just one of the many Texans whose lives is put in the hands of our elected officials who will be making these crucial decisions in the days to come. I, like many of my fellow Texans, fear for my life and the lives of my loved ones during this scary and unprecedented time. I'm very invested in decisions that my state officials are making during this time, and this caused me to look more into what decisions are being made and who's making those decisions. Today I would like to talk about the government's response to the coronavirus pandemic and how carelessness can have major consequences, how individual state decisions create confusion and inconsistent messages, and how each one of us can make a difference in our uncertain future during this pandemic. First, I'm going to be talking about the carelessness of the government and how that can be harming the public. So the U.S. government responded pretty late during the pandemic timeline, and when everything was spreading in China, there wasn't much of an official response, and it seemed that there could have been more done during the beginning of it. According to one article, 90% of coronavirus deaths in the U.S. could have possibly been avoided if social distancing began on March 2nd, when there was only 11 deaths recorded in the nation. So social distance protocol is pretty common now, but just simply staying away from other people and possibly self-quarantine could have saved a lot of lives in the long run. So when the virus was spreading in China, there was a lot of media coverage, but there wasn't a lot being said about what could be done here and about how it would eventually be spread to the US. I think a lot of Americans who were a little bit confused during this time didn't know who to get their information from, who was right, what news sources to follow, and that led to a lot of confusion and a lot of carelessness in official statements during that time, saying that there wouldn't be cause for problems. Public perception in America of the virus was nonchalant, while other countries actually began to prepare for the virus. And as we saw it spreading in Europe, there actually wasn't that much of a precedent being set during that time in March. Even when the virus began to spread to other countries, there wasn't that much information that we knew currently on the virus, and I think that's why officials normally wouldn't say anything then, but it could have prevented a lot of cases and contractions. So now that I've explained the carelessness of the U.S. in response to the outbreak, I will tell you the consequences of this misinformation and other inconsistencies that were spread during this time. So well-respected, influential members of society were actually quoted for saying things that, like, the virus wouldn't be that serious, and that it was essentially like a cold, and a lot of people like Dr. Drew and Dr. Oz are looked up to by a lot of people, and that's where a lot of people get their information, had to go back and say that they were wrong for making these statements. Other influential people like megachurch preachers have encouraged their members to continue attending church, even though this could put their church members in harm. A Miami pastor was said to have warned his parishioners Sunday that fears of exposure to COVID-19 was a demonic spirit, and he encouraged his parishioners to show up to worship and not heed warnings from officials to avoid crowded spaces. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has decided to reopen businesses much quicker than other state governors, and has caused a lot of confusion within Texans and why this is happening, and why other states such as California and New York have decided to hold up on reopening a lot of businesses. On May 1st, when the state was reopened, an article in the Dallas paper said that the state reported its highest single-day death toll from the coronavirus with 50 new fatalities, and Dallas County reported 179 new cases, its highest so far, for the first time exceeded 100 deaths. A lot of historical data that we have, such as Spanish influenza, has showed us that there are several waves to the virus. So the lack of response early on and the lack of seriousness taken to the social distancing protocols could cause higher deaths in the second wave or third wave, and could potentially, this misinformation could potentially cause more needless deaths. So now that you know the serious consequences of being careless and misinformation, I will explain what we can do as individuals to keep each other and ourselves safe. there is an active role in slowing the spread that each of us have by social distancing. So that's one thing that we can do as well, by limiting our exposure to other people, by wearing protective personal equipment when in public, and try not to avoid wearing a mask, wear masks as much as possible. Another really important step that we could take as American citizens is we could write our government officials. So I actually felt there was a need to write Greg Abbott, so I wrote a letter, and other people could write as well. Greg Abbott is one of the main people who's making these decisions right now. Other federal government officials don't have much to say in these state decisions, and so it's up to you to talk to your local government officials and write letters if you can to let them know what you think about the situation. And so, in summation, although this virus does not care about how much is changing life, it's important for us to know what we have and what power we have to make a difference in our own lives and other people's lives. It's important for us to fight for our lives and the lives of the people around us. And knowing this power can help us influence our government, and it may be easy for us to accept the changes that are going to be made in the future to come. So even though many of us feel fearful and anxious about what is to come, I hope that this presentation has given you hope that you can take control of your future and giving you a couple of ideas of what we can do together in this time of uncertainty.